This is a follow-up to a previous video I made on simultaneous equations. That video focused purely on elimination method. In this video, we're going to cover substitution method. I'm also going to make a third video, which will go through how you can solve word problems using simultaneous equations. So, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when that video is released. Also, I'm going to change the format of these videos very slightly. In this video, I'm going to do two questions rather than one. The first question is going to be a little easier, and the second question is going to be a little bit more difficult. So let's do these questions then. So here's the question on the virtual whiteboard. It says solve using substitution. We've got two equations with two unknown variables. Therefore, we know it's simultaneous. And it's telling us to use substitution method. To be honest, on this kind of question, I would rather use elimination method, but the question tells us we have to use substitution. So let's use substitution. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is we have to isolate one of the variables in one of the equations and then use that to substitute into the other equation. Let's see what that means. So we've already got the y equals x plus 4. So we can use the x plus 4 and substitute that in for y in the other equation. Let's write it out and see how that works. So the first equation is y equals x plus 4. And the second equation, which I'm going to do in blue, is y equals negative 3x plus 8. So we know that y is equal to x plus 4. So we can replace the y with x plus 4. We can substitute it. So let's do that. We can see a y over here, so let's substitute that for x plus 4. So let's rewrite this. So instead of writing the letter y, I'm going to write x plus 4. I still have the equals and I still have the minus 3x plus 8. Now it's just an effort in solving for x, because we only have one variable, we only have the x. So let's solve it. I've got negative 3x, so if I add 3x to both sides and subtract 4 from both sides, I'm left with positive 3x add x makes positive 4x, or just 4x, and positive 8 subtract 4, which is 4. And if 4x is 4, if I divide both sides by 4, I'm left with x is equal to 1. Now we've got x. What we can do is we can use that to work out y. We can substitute x into the first equation to calculate y. So let's do that. So the first equation was y equals x plus 4. We've already worked out that x is 1. So let's replace the x with a 1. So 1 plus 4 is y. Therefore y must be equal to 5. So now we've worked out y. We've got y is 5. We've also got x is 1. But how do we check if they're correct? What we can do is we can sub them both into the second equation. And if the equation works, we know we've got it correct. So let's try that. Let's get some new page on this paper. And the second equation was y equals 3x plus 8. So we know what x is. X is 1. That's what we calculated. So we can replace the x with a 1. And we know what y is. Y is 5, so we can replace that with a 5. So let's do that. So y is 5. X is 1, so it's times 1. And plus 8. And now let's work all of this out. So minus 3 times 1 is just minus 3. So now it's minus 3 plus 8 equals 5. And that works, so we know that we've got x and y correct. So that was question 1, and it was okay. This was question 2. It's a little bit more complicated. Let's try it. It asks us to solve using substitution again, so we have to use the substitution method. And again, we've got two equations with two unknown variables. So we know we have to do simultaneous equations. So let's have a look at them. First of all, I'm going to label them. Equation A and equation B. And we're going to have a look at the equations, and we're going to see if any of the variables have been isolated for us. They're not. We're going to have to make one of the equations equal to either x or y, so we can substitute that into the other equation. Let's see what I mean. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use equation B to do this. I'm going to make equation B equal to x. I'm going to change the subject, so x is the subject. So if I subtract y from both sides, I'm left with x equals -6 minus y. We've made x the subject. Now we've isolated the variable x. I'm going to rewrite equation A as it is. -2x minus y equals 15. If you look at equation B, it tells us that x is equal to -6 subtract y. What we can do is we can substitute that x into the first equation, equation A. We can substitute -6 minus y into that space x. Let's do that. Let's rewrite equation A, but with this substituted in. So equation A would still start with the -2, because we're not touching that, it's still there. The x is going to change. We're going to swap it for -6 minus y. We're still going to keep the minus y after that, and we're also going to keep the equals 15. Now if you notice, we only have y variables in this, so we can solve for y. So let's first expand the brackets. -2 times -6 is +12, or just 12. And -2 times -y is +2y. +2y. Then we still have the -y, and we still have the equals 15. And now we can simplify this a little. +2y, take away y, is just 1y, or y. And if we subtract 15 from both sides, we're left with y equals 15 take away 12, or y equals 3. Now we've got a value for y. We've worked out y. We can use that to work out x, to calculate the value for x. So we know what y is. Y is 3. Let's substitute that back in to equation B. So equation B is x plus y equals -6. And we're going to sub it in. So we know that y is 3. So I'm going to replace the y with 3. Let's try that. If y is 3, x plus 3 equals -6. And now we're going to solve for x. If I subtract 3 from both sides, I'm left with x is equal to -6 subtract 3, which is -9. So now we have a value for x. X is -9. So we've worked out y, we've worked out x, but how do we know if it's correct? What we can do is we can sub both of them into the other equation, into equation A. If the equation works, we know we've got it right. Let's try that. So we're going to substitute them both into equation A. So equation A was -2x minus y equals 15. So we know what y is because we've worked it out. Y is 3. So we're going to replace the y for 3. We still have the minus symbol. We're also going to replace the x for -9 because that's what we worked out. Everything else is going to stay exactly the same. Now we can work this out. We can see if it's correct. So minus 2 times minus 9 is positive 18. And 18 subtract 3 equals 15. And it works. So we know we've got x and y correct. I think for questions like these, it's important to have a very strong understanding of algebra. If you're finding the rearranging or the substituting a little hard, maybe it's wise to go back and revise linear equations, or changing the subject, or substitution, and just have a play around with the algebra. If you want to learn any of these topics in a lot more detail, I actually offer one-to-one private tutoring. You can visit the website www.skittles.school to book a free online demo with me. If you found this video helpful, a like would be super awesome. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all of these learning videos. Until the next one then, keep learning and keep being awesome.